going on, everyone? Darkwater here, back in Parkitect, back in our Sandbox park. Uh, Moved a little bit more into the western area, working on the log flume in today. Um, Decided to start with kind of building the mountains, kind of cutting a river through here, and then having the river go underneath the pathway. I messed around with this a couple times, didn't like how it was turning out. Um, but do end up taking it underneath the train trestles as well. And I did end up moving the train further around the area. Will end up going through and putting in another train station in the area, but I think I'm going to do it more towards the deserty western area. This is more of a kind of a mining area, I think, in what I have in my head. Um, but yeah, hopefully you guys are having a good day. Just sitting back, relaxing, watching a little Parkitect. Uh, go through toying around with the station just a little bit. There are two drops in this. One inside the mountain, the other is going to be kind of on the bottom right there, going basically skipping across the river. I do throw some trees in here. I still have a lot more detailing to go through and finish off, but that'll be for another day. Um, but yeah, I do like how this turns out. I end up putting in kind of two waterfalls, give it a little bit more aesthetic there. I end up using the flat sheets of water. Not sure how well I necessarily like that. I think it's just I'm used to the roller coaster tycoon waterfalls from RCT3. Um, but yeah, I still think it turns out pretty well. I end up doing this slope a little bit smoother than the other one, just so it kind of glides down the hill itself. I could have gone through, done a steeper one, and then just kind of lined it with rocks, but I kind of also wanted to keep it a little bit more visual for the people that are walking on the path down at the bottom. I do end up covering up part of it with some rocks because I turned that into the second waterfall, and I kind of want to keep the water that's falling kind of in place. So I do take a quick look at some of the speed. Looks like it's got a max velocity of uh, 42 kilometers an hour. Um, so it's not too bad. The ratings are fairly good. I go ahead and just add in a quick path as well as connect up the queue just to get some people on and give people a little bit more to enjoy in the park. I go through. This is probably going to be contained kind of in a logging uh, vein of kind of like a logging hut, but a little bit longer. So here I start to toy around with the first waterfall. And yes, it is water from nowhere. I'm fully aware. It still works in my head. Um, the splash effects are also very nice. I kind of stash those down at the bottom. I end up going through here, do this a couple times because I ended up putting it too far forward the first time. So I do end up going back through and deleting it and fixing it there that you can see. Um, but yeah, one of the things I do need to do is do kind of a rock surround on the drop right there at the top of the screen as going in, as well as the one that's coming up um, on the other lift hill. Uh, then at the end, I do a little bit of work with some of the long grasses in there. So here I'm just kind of putting in some of the effects in here, going back and forth on doing the larger water ones, but I think I end up taking them out of this area just because it didn't really look quite how I wanted it. Putting in the rocks was an adventure. I don't know why it was kind of a struggle. But yeah, getting this area how I wanted it took a little bit longer than I was expecting it to. Um, I will probably go back through, do a little bit of plant work on the rocks themselves, because I think that might look a little bit more interesting and a little bit more, I guess, I don't know if realistic is necessarily the word I want. Um, but I do kind of do the rocks around and again, water from nowhere, but it's fine. I feel like most major parks that are like this kind of do water from nowhere in quite a few areas. Um, I think going into this, the concept that I had kind of in my head was similar to the log ride from Knott's Berry Farm, if anybody's familiar with that. I grew up going to Knott's Berry Farm in Disneyland, so that's where a lot of my inspiration comes from, I guess. Um, do a little rock work here in the actual fall itself, just to try and give it a little bit of personality. I didn't like that placement, so I did actually drop that one down a little bit further. I go through also and do a lot of tree stumps because again, this is kind of in my head, kind of a logging area. So I do little splashes coming off the rocks, as I assume there would be. Do some bigger rocks down here at the bottom, and then realize it's just going to be blocking everything there. So I kind of simplified it a little bit. I think I ended up just covering that emitter, or yeah. So first waterfall's done. I looked at it, decided to kind of darken the ground underneath it, so I turned it into soil, so it's a little bit darker, which I like. And then it's just a lot of trees here. So scattering through the trees on the higher precipice, there's more of the tree stumps because in my head that's kind of where they're doing more of the logging. I think I'm going to add a logging hut up there. Um, and down at the bottom, I don't know if there's a water wheel in this. Somewhere in the back of my head it says there is, but that could be just blending from other game. Um, so here I start to move up to the further top here, and then looking at it, I decide, you know what, doing this as a waterfall might actually be a cool idea. So this is kind of where they do all the logging, and then they just shove it down the waterfall. Again, water from nowhere, but that's fine. Um, and then as they shove it down into the river there, they collect it and take it over to the sawmill, which is more of what's in my head for the for where the right station is. And so that'll probably be in the next episode. Do a little bit of rock work again, just to try and keep the water all in place. But at the same time, try and keep the foreground one a little bit smaller so you'd be able to actually see the logs as they're going down from the pathway down below. Moving forward, I'll probably do some last minute touch ups on this ride and then kind of move into a small area of food and drink and bathroom probably before we move more into the deserty, typical Wild West kind of western area. More of the desert theming, I guess. Um, so yeah, just come through, do some rocks, add some more trees in. I debated about doing some rocks underneath here where these splashes would be, and just didn't like the way it looked, so I ended up just taking them out. And then at the other end of the run here is where I do a lot of the tall grasses. Start adding in some floating logs down in here. that you would go past here. Debated about sinking the track further down so it's more at water level, but I think I'm just going to leave it as it is, going back and forth on doing some rock work with it, but I'm probably just going to leave it how it is right there. But yeah, I really liked how this turned out so far. Go through doing a lot of the grass, do some lily pads in here, do some of the just kind of odds and ends to make a little look a little bit more authentic, I guess. Kind of smooth it out a little bit, so don't have the hard edge of grass like when somebody took a lawnmower in there. Um, but yeah, so I'll probably do finish up the ride the next episode, do a little bit of shop work, and then I think the next thing in my head is going to be a wooden coaster. Um, it'll probably be on the same side of the path as this, but it'll probably go over the pathway as well, just to kind of use it as a separator for the going from the foresty mill area to the desert floor. Um, and then we'll get into more of the proper western town itself. And there's some of the tree stumps I started to add in. Um, Within the deserty western area, I will probably do a mine train coaster over there. So this will probably be a little bit more of an intense area. Um, there will be a pathway that runs kind of parallel to the station. That'll take you into kind of the more of the fantasy land or the kid land. But that will be for another day. I'll probably just take it between the uh, the log flume here and the wooden coaster. And then I think after the deserty western area, it'll go straight into probably probably the steampunk area because I think it'll just flow better that way. But we'll see. But yeah, just do a little bit of tree work, and then I also do change the soil underneath the waterfall. But yeah, that's about what we've got for today. I appreciate you guys for watching. As always, if you like the series, go ahead and hit that like button just so I know. And look forward to seeing you guys again in Parkitect soon. And as always, I hope you guys have yourselves a fantastic day.